Alright guys, so today we're going to be solving equations with models. Models are just the pictures you see here. So from this model we are going to make an equation and then we're going to solve. Okay. So we did solving equations yesterday. So let's see. So if we're looking at this picture, it says what does the picture mean in numbers? So we have to count the numbers first. How many x's there are? 1, 2, 3. So you're going to write 3x. Write that 3 in front of the x. Okay, the next one is ones. Count them 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are going to be positive ones, right? So there's 4. Okay, my equal sign is next. And then you're going to count all these little boxes. They have ones in them, right? So each box equals 1, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So you're going to write 13, okay? So we can just check this real quick. We have 3 x's, check. We have 4 ones, they're positive, so check. We got an equal sign. And we have 13 boxes here, right? So we're going to put a check, okay? So our picture matches our equation. Now we can solve the equation. Okay. So what we learned yesterday, we learned if it was true. Well, this time, it doesn't give you what x is. It doesn't say x is blank. We have to solve for x. So this is how we're going to do it. The first thing you're going to do is you are going to circle your coefficient and variable. Okay, if you don't know what that is, it's okay. This right here is your coefficient. That just means the number before the variable. And this one right here, this x, is your variable. Now, a variable just means it's going to be a letter. Okay? It could be any letter. It could be 3P, it could be 3D, it could be any letter. But if there's a letter there, that is your variable. Okay? So, you're going to circle your coefficient and variable, and then you're going to draw a line. Okay? This line represents math is fair. What do I mean by that? So whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Math is fair, right? So we finished that. We drew our circle, drew a line through the equal sign. Now we're going to do the inverse operation. I'm going to say that again. Inverse operation. What that means is, go ahead and write this on the top. Inverse operation. You are just going to do the opposite. Okay? That is opposite. Opposite operation. So if I have an addition sign, the opposite of addition is subtraction. Now let's look at multiplication. If I have the multiplication sign, the opposite of multiplication is division. Okay. Same thing, if I have a subtraction, the opposite is addition. If I have a division sign, the opposite is multiplication. Okay, so let's go ahead. We circled this because we're going to do this step last. We're doing the inverse operation. We are going to do the opposite of plus 4. The opposite of plus 4 is negative 4. Okay? Remember, math is fair. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Just make sure when you write that minus 4, you're writing it right next door, your neighbor. Okay? You don't put it underneath. If you put it underneath, you might get confused when you're doing positives and negatives. Okay? So positive 4 and minus 4, they cancel out. For my visual people, this is just saying if you have 4 positives and you have 4 negatives, they cancel out. So that's why it is 0. Okay, or it just cancels out. Now 13 minus 4. 13 minus 4 is 9. I'm going to write that 9 right there. We're going to bring down this 3x. Bring it all the way down. And you're going to bring your equal sign down. Okay. So now we're going to do still inverse operation. Our goal is to get x by itself. Okay, so these two numbers are stuck together. We know that's multiplication. You're multiplying, right? The opposite of multiplying is division. So let's go ahead and put a fraction bar underneath both of those sides. Okay, let me extend my line. That math is fair. What I did to one side, I did to the other. That's why there's a fraction bar on both sides. Okay, I'm going to divide both sides. So I want to get x by itself. So I need to get rid of what? I need to get rid of that 3. Okay, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So we're going to divide by 3 on the other side. These two cancel out. Your x is left. 9 divided by 3. How many times can 3 go into 9? 3 times. So x is equal to 3. Okay. Don't worry if you're confused. We will do another problem together. Pause the video so you can write all that information down. Okay, let's go to example 2. So again, we have to write our equation from this model. So how many x's do we have? 2x. These ones right here, there's a little sign in front of us, our negative sign. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means it's going to be -5. Okay, our equal sign, and then there's just 3 positive ones, right? Okay, so now let's do our equation. Let's solve for x. So for those of you that need steps, let me write on the side. The first step is to circle coefficient and variable. Okay, so that means I'm circling 2x. Because remember, the coefficient is a number before the variable, and the x is our variable. So I circled it because I'm going to do that last. I'm going to draw a line through my equal sign because math is fair. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Now I'm going to do inverse operation. So that's step 2. So inverse operation. I'm okay if you just write opposite right here. So let's look over here. The opposite of -5 is +5. Do the same thing on the right side. Make sure you make it its neighbor. Do not put it underneath. Put it right next to it. So we got these cancel out. Bring down my 2x. Bring down my equal sign. 3 plus 5 is 8. Now we're going to do inverse operation still. We got to get that x by itself. If you still have a number next to that x, you're not finished. You got to keep going. Okay, so we know that two numbers stuck together are multiplying. So we want to get x by itself. So we're going to do the opposite. The opposite of multiplication is division. And I want to get rid of that 2. When I get rid of that 2, that x is going to be by itself. Don't forget, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So we have to divide 2 on the left side. We're doing the same on the right side. So 8 divided by 2. How many times can 2 go into 8? 4. Box your answer. Go ahead and put boxes over here so you know what step 1 is and step 2. Now let's look at example 3. Example 3 looks like a completely different picture, right? Example 3 gives us this right here. This is called a balance beam. A balance beam is just going to be our equal sign. Okay, let's go ahead and make an equation from this model. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. But there's an x in there, so it's going to be 4x. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minus 5. There's a negative in front of that, minus 5. But look at our equation. Does that look like the previous ones? It's a little bit on the opposite side, right? You can turn this, you can switch sides if you need to. Okay, you can put this 4x minus 5 equals 7. Now that looks like our other equations, right? So let's go ahead and do the first step. No, you go ahead and do example 3. I gave you the equation, you just have to solve for x. Okay, let's go ahead and turn over on the back. On the back, example 4. Now example 4 is a little different. They're still giving us a model, but they gave us a key. So we need to follow that key. So this, if it's shaded in, that means it's a negative x, right? So these are negative x, negative x. Go ahead and label. We got 1, this is not shaded in, so that means it's just a 1. Equal sign, and then we got 2. This is supposed to be shaded in. It's shaded on your paper, but my light is not working. Okay, so this is a negative 1, this is negative 1. So now we can write our equation from this. So we count our x's, 1, 2, 3, they're negative 3x. Negative 3x. Okay, there's a negative sign in front of that x. So we have 1, positive 1, our equal sign. And we have 1, 2, we have negative 2. Okay. Go ahead and, no, we'll do that one together. Okay, let's do this one together really quick. First step is to circle your coefficient and variable. You should be circling that negative 3x. Don't forget your negative sign, okay? Let's see, the next step is inverse operations, the opposite. Ooh, I forgot to put my line. Math is fair. Now we're doing the inverse. So the opposite of positive 1 is minus 1, right? We're going to do the same thing on the right side. These two cancel out. We're going to bring down our negative 3x is equal to, we have negative 2 minus 1. This is where you're going to do circle, circle, plus. That's why it's important to put whatever you do on this side, on the right side, you need to put it next door. It's neighbor, okay? So that you can do circle, circle, plus. We have two negatives. When we have the same sign, we add and keep the sign. So 2 plus 1 is 3, negative 3. Okay, let's keep going. We're going to do the opposite again. These two numbers are stuck together. We're multiplying. The opposite of that is dividing. That means we're going to divide on both sides. Okay, we have negative 3. We want to get that x by itself, so we're going to get rid of negative 3 on both sides. These two cancel out. I'm going to write my answer right here. X is equal to, I have x equals negative 3 divided by negative 3. Don't forget to do sleepy guy. I have two negatives. My answer is going to be positive. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. So x is equal to 1. Okay, I want you to make sure you have example 3 completed. You solve for x here, and make sure you have the check-in completed. Raise your hand when you're done so I can come by and check off your notes.